So Auburn wants to go to the SEC East, which if I just told you that and you didn't know much more about the situation, your reasoning would be, well, yeah, that makes sense. They don't want to play Alabama every year to try to get to an SEC title game. Because that means you've got to beat Alabama just to get to an SEC championship game, and that is much easier said than done. In fact, it's not easy either way, but rarely does anybody beat Alabama, and Auburn, outside of the Cam Newton year and the kick six, is waiting and wanting, like the rest of the SEC West, for them to come back down to the pack, for the Crimson Tide to not be a machine every single year.
You are a machine of death.
I understand it. I don't think you'd want to be in the same division as Alabama. You'd want to be on the other side for a clearer path to the SEC championship game. But Auburn AD Jay Jacobs, you're going to want a better excuse than this. Jacobs tells 24/7 Sports, it makes more sense for us from the standpoint of the demographics of our students. 6 or 8 years ago, I looked at all the demographics. Most of all of our students come from Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, and a few from Mississippi, very few from Louisiana. Since we went to the national championship game twice, we've got more geographical students from all over the place, but still the majority of our students come from the Southeast, end of quote. Oh, well, then you definitely should move to the other division because of where your students come from. Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a ton of sense. Auburn needs to play in the SEC East because it's got more students from South Carolina. Because when you make your decisions with sports rivalries and sports structure and sports, when you make your schedule in football, you should start thinking, well, where's our undergrads come from? Can somebody get this broken down for me? Sure. Because here's the thing. Most of your undergrads come from the state of Alabama. Right? And Alabama is in the West along with you. So if you really want to break down demographics, the argument could be, well, most of your students come from Alabama. Most of Alabama's students come from Alabama, so you guys should be on the same side. That's really where the demographics are. But instead, you're going to say, well, no. We got a lot of kids that come from Georgia, a lot of kids that come from Florida, a lot of kids that come from Tennessee and South Carolina, Kentucky. So I think we should be playing those teams. Come on. That's not the reason you want to be on that side of the conference. The reason is you don't want to keep slamming your head into the wall of Alabama every single year to try to break through to get to a conference championship game. But let's not lie about it. Now, there's an easy solution here, and that is flipping Missouri and Auburn. And I would be totally in on that. Because Missouri shouldn't get to choose what side it's in. It's one of the Johnny-come-latelys along with Texas A&M. A&M's in the West, so they wanted to make Missouri on the eastern side. But Mizzou doesn't really get to choose. If they're going to put Mizzou on the tougher side of things, that's what has to be done because they were the last team in, basically. And Missouri is obviously farther west than most of the other SEC schools. So putting Missouri with Arkansas, which is a border state, makes sense. Taking Missouri out of what is now the easier side of the conference, fine, that makes sense. You want to put Auburn in the East? Fine. I have no problem there. You've got to make sure you keep the Iron Bowl. You cannot do away with the Iron Bowl. Auburn, Alabama have to play every single season. But Auburn's even saying, hey, if we want to move that game around so that we don't necessarily have an Alabama-Auburn back-to-back weeks, once in the Iron Bowl, once in the SEC championship game, we'll do that. That's how desperate Auburn is. But just be real about this. Let's just be real about it instead of suggesting, well, we got a lot of kids that come from Kentucky, so we should probably play them every year. Not the reason you're doing this.